Okay, got back from seeing The Last Jedi just now, and I really fucking loved it. Like, spoiler free version, if you haven't seen it, if you're ever gonna see it, if you ever wanna see it, if you ever think maybe 12 years from now I might watch it if it's on TV sometime, you know, stop watching. But like spoiler free version, like there was like 5% of the movie where I was like, you don't need this. You don't need this part in the movie. Like, I don't know why this is here. But 95% of the movie fucking killed it. Like, I really fucking liked it. Uh, there were some parts that I'm like, that's kind of not okay, but I'm fine with it. And there were some parts I just sheer out didn't like. Like, they were really shoving the mascot animals in your face. Like there were like if you've probably seen plushies of them, but like there's these little owl penguin things, and it's like, hey kids, go buy these plushies. But honestly, I didn't mind them at all. Like they didn't bother me. I could like my brain went, okay Disney, you're trying to sell me a fucking little plushie. That's cute, but like it didn't ruin the movie for me or anything. Like that kind of stuff just whoop. Although the other version of that was right at the end of the movie, there were these cool little crystal foxes running around, and they were just every time they were on screen, I was like, ah. So like, if I was, so like, I guess if I was, like, if you tweak certain things about my life a little bit, I probably would have been marking out about the owl penguins, but because I was marking the fuck out about the crystal foxes. If there were plushies, Disney, you motherfuckers, you fucking mouse. If you have plushies of the crystal foxes, I will throw all the money at you because I want one of those. They were so fucking cute. Like they had a lot of screen time too, like way more than they should have had. Like there were whole like full 1 seconds of that movie where the entire screen is just a fucking fox. It's just a fucking snow fox. Like okay, that one is working on me. You sold a plushie on me on that one, Disney. But the owl's just like, yeah, you sell those plushies, I guess. Fucking Return of the Jedi had Ewoks. What do you want? You know, bitches got to make their money. But like the thing about this movie that I really, really, really enjoyed, like the things about it, is it did that thing that people complained about because they're stupid assholes, where it's like, hey, remember this? Remember this imagery? Remember that thing that happened in the old movies? Hey, nostalgia. Do you have those nostalgic memories of your childhood of what happened in the old movies? Well, fuck you. Like, that's what it did. Because it exploited your nostalgia, it exploited your memories of the old movies, your expectations that they were just gonna do the same old thing again. Because like right from the title crawl, I was like, they're going really Empire with it. They're going very Empire Strikes Back with it, where it's like the rebels have their secret base and they need to get the fuck out of there, and it's a last like desperate battle. Although like the fucking Hoth, but again, they subverted your expectations with it. But that the, the biggest complaint people had about the Force Awakens was it's just New Hope again, which is stupid and they're dumb and I hate them. But it makes me think that that was kind of on their mind. Like I know they didn't just make this movie in 2 years, right? They're kind of like it's kind of like how the Lord of the Rings did all three in a row, like while they were editing uh, uh, Fellowship, they were shooting Twin Towers. So that's kind of the production that these movies are going through. Like, although I'm hoping that I am kind of confused about what they're gonna do with Leia, considering Carrie Fisher's dead. I hope they finished all her scenes. Ooh, ooh, uh-oh. Of all of the fucking original actors to die, it had to be the one who should be in the next movie. Oops. But like it occurs to me like I don't know what was going through their head while they were making the movie or anything, but me watching it, the intentions of the movie as I'm watching it seems to me to have been, oh, they think we're just gonna do the same thing over and over. Yeah, well, let's fucking trick them. Let's fool them. They think that's what they expect. Like the original movie, oh, it's just New Hope again. Yeah, well, they think this one's gonna be Empire again, right? They think we're just gonna do Empire Strikes Back again. Well, let's fucking manipulate them a little bit. Let's feed on that because they would set up like nostalgic set pieces where you go, oh, I remember that from the old movie. And then they go, nope, fuck you, we're gonna do a different thing with it. We're gonna do, like, you think that's what we're gonna do, but then we don't do it. You know, they start running and they start leaning to the left and you go, oh, they're gonna zig, but then they zag. And that's what was what I liked about it. Like the entire movie was very well constructed, although it did occur to me right at the beginning that the editing was a little non-traditional, I guess you might say. Like the editing at the beginning of the movie didn't feel like a Star Wars movie the way a Star Wars movie is traditionally edited. But as the movie went on, it started being much more traditionally Star Wars in its editing, which is weird. Like maybe they switched editors halfway through or something. I don't know what was going on there, but at the beginning of the movie, there were some weird shots and some weird like the editing right at the beginning was very peculiar to me for some reason. Because it starts out like from space and then it does like a reverse, it does like a zoom through space through all these CGI ships down onto the planet. And I'm like, that's not a very Star Wars shot. That's not the kind of shot you see in a Star Wars movie. And then during a big space battle, like it focuses on this no-name character that doesn't that we've never seen before and have no attachment to, and it's imposing a lot of importance onto this character. And she's running around this ship, and like she falls down a ladder, and the screen cuts to black because like she passed out, and then the camera comes back on to her opening her eyes. I'm like, that's not a very Star Wars shot. That's not the kind of thing you do with editing in a Star Wars movie. So that stood out to me at first, and I was gonna be like, okay, like I guess they're like, I don't know what I was thinking, but then as the movie went on, it got away from that a lot. It was really only that opening scene that stood out to me as kind of weak, kind of off kilter in terms of, but I guess you could accuse that also of being like subverting your expectations, but it just felt weird to me. It reminded me of how when I talked about Rogue One, I said you gotta use wipes. Like a Star Wars movie uses wipe transitions. If you're not using wipe transitions, it doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. This movie used wipe transitions, but again, very much later on, to show like a transition through time and space. Right at the beginning was really weird. I'm talking about this way too long, but that's because it really perturbed me. Right at the beginning of the movie, I was like, that's weird. Why are you doing that? That's kind of peculiar. The opening space battle was really cool. This movie had way more, like, dogfight, like, probably some of the best space battles. They weren't, they were pretty small scale. That's what was cool about them. Because you think, like in Return of the Jedi, there was the Battle of Endor, and that was a big, like, fleet-wide space battle. Yeah, all of the fights, all of the, like, battle, all of the wars in this Star Wars were very small and kind of like very narrow in their focus. But I kind of like that because it fed into the personal, because again, it's going for the Empire feeling, where the movie starts out, Empire Strikes Back started out with our characters as part of the Rebel Alliance fighting the Empire, but then after they get off Hoth, they go out into very different, divergent, character-focused narratives. Like, it starts out with them as part of the Rebels, and then Luke goes off and does his Yoda training, and Han and Leia go off through the asteroid field trying to run from Vader and end up on Cloud City. So this movie was kind of doing that, but while everyone was still in the rebellion. Like, it was doing the characters go off and do their own thing, but as part of the rebellion. So it's kind of doing both. Again, like, it's reincorporating those similar aspects, but portraying it in a different way. Although, you could argue not as well, because something that Empire Strikes Back did was it had two stories. It had Luke on Dagobah and Han and Leia in the asteroid field and going to Cloud City. This movie kept cutting between three different stories, and one of those stories could have been trimmed down significantly. This movie was long. Like this movie was longer than I expected it to be. There's parts of this movie I feel like you could have really saved some running time just cutting some stuff. Like, there was a part of the movie where it was like, okay, it's ending, this is a good ending point, and then it kept going, and I was like, oh shit, they're like doing way more. Like, there's way more movie left. Like, I thought it was good. It felt like it was really winding up to be over and ended, and then it kept going for like 20 more minutes, and I was like, whoa. It was a good 20 minutes, but it kind of like, I can't believe this movie's not over yet. Like, I liked Poe's story on the fleet. I think that was some good character development for him. I liked Rey's story. I feel like Finn's story could have been cut down a little bit. There was, like, I liked parts of his story, but I feel like if there was anywhere that you could have saved time with this movie, it was in that story. And jumping between three narratives, technically it's kind of four, but jumping between three narratives, you lose a little bit of your focus. But like I said, like 95 to 99, somewhere in between that percent of this movie, like 5 to 1% of no, I'm pulling away from the screen a little bit here on this 1 to 5%. But the other 95%, I was like, yo, you got something going on here. I quite liked it. Like when I think about like a grand package, because I remember when I saw Rogue One, I was like, the beginning of this movie sucks. Show up for the last 30 minutes, because the last 30 minutes of Rogue One kick ass. With this movie, it's like, I did like the beginning, even though it was kind of weird, but I did like what they were doing. Oh, that's another thing, is this movie, in another kind of like, the original three movies are a little like sterile in comparison when you think about it. There's not a lot of punchlines in the original three Star Wars movies. There is humor. There are funny moments. There's moments of levity, but they're not like punchline moments. You know, like I think of Luke using the Force to lift C-3PO around and convince the Ewoks to see him as a god. That's a really funny thing, but it's not like a joke. You know, it's not a punchline. There's a lot of punchlines in this movie. There's a lot of, like, but-um-bum in this movie. And I like that. I thought it was good. I laughed. It was well done. But again, that's one of those weird things like, oh, like, I felt the same way in Force Awakens, actually. When Force Awakens came out, there were a lot of jokes. There were a lot of punchlines. There was a lot of but-um-bum and it didn't bother me. Like, I'm not saying this as a negative against the movie, but it's something that stands out to me in comparison to the original three movies. Because in the original three movies, they're kind of sterile. There is humor to be found, like Leia kissing Luke. That's a funny moment, but it's not a joke. You know? Like, the idea of Han Solo being like, "You're fucking in love with me, shut up, Leia." And Leia goes, "Fuck you, smooch, done." Like, I guess you don't know anything about women after all. And Luke kind of goes, "Ooh." Like, that's a funny moment, but it's not funny in the same way that these new Star Wars movies are funny. And again, when you have, like, the difference is, like, the kind of humor that was in the original three Star Wars movies doesn't really have a chance to fall flat. Like, if you tell, like, a ba-dum-bum joke and it doesn't land, there's just silence, and you kind of failed a little bit. There were a couple of jokes in The Force Awakens that I remember being like, you don't need, like, why? This is dumb. Like, that's not funny, and you're wasting my time. There were only a couple, but those moments don't exist in the original movies. These new movies have moments where it's like, why'd you do that? But there were but, like, again, most of it is, haha, that was really fun. Like, boom, you landed it. That was hilarious, especially since I saw this with a really good audience. I saw this with a great audience. The theater was practically packed. There were at least 10 lightsabers in this theater. I sat next to to a little family of cosplayers, like a little family of, like, the older lady was Leia with the buns in her hair. Some guy was Darth Maul with fucking full face paint. It was crazy. Their kids had little stormtrooper shirts on. It was adorable. This was a great crowd. Like, there were big applause moments where people were going, "Woo, yeah, zoom, yeah." It was pretty fucking great. It was a great crowd. And again, when the fucking punchlines hit, everyone was laughing, and I was laughing too. They were good punchlines, but like, it's not a negative thing. I'm not saying, oh, this detracts from the movie. I'm just pointing out, like, that's something that you can't say about the original movies. That's something, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to do something to in a more modern kind of way. That's sort of what it feels like. It feels like updated sensibilities, sort of. If, like, movies today have quips in them. Movies today do have punchlines, and that's how they handle moments of levity in movies made in the 2010s. So it's not like that doesn't belong in Star Wars, but that hadn't been in Star Wars before. That's all. I mean, they were funny. Some of them are spoilers. Oh, and I'm pretty sure all of the effects in this movie were, not all of them, there was some CGI stuff, but most of the effects in this movie were fucking practical effects, and I appreciate that. There was a particular one, especially, that was kind of a gross out practical effect, but that was funny. Like, it was kind of a ew kind of funny, but, like, that was practical. Like, he was actually touching it. Like, it was a physical object that existed on the set with the actors. And I'm pretty sure they were filming all on location, too, which is also nice. Like, once again, my standard going into this movie, my crowning standard for these new Star Wars movies is just be better than the prequels. Just don't be as bad as the prequels. As long as they're not as bad as the prequels, they're good movies, as far as I'm concerned. If I'm watching a Star Wars movie and I'm like, yes, Star Wars, instead of going, when is this fucking Senate scene gonna be over? When is this fucking scene with the Jedi Council gonna be over? This is so fucking boring. Oh yeah, it's a big fight scene with CGI. Oh, they're swinging a lightsaber around and they're cutting droids. Yeah. Oh, look at that cartoon ship shoot. Yeah. Ooh, it's a big cartoon explosion. Like, as long as I'm watching a Star Wars, I'm happy, you know? I mean, there's a weird kind of... It's... Like, I'm trying to find the words for it. I know what I want to say, but I'm trying to figure out how to say it, because people have a weird cynicism about these new movies, where they're like, oh, it's just doing the same thing the old movies did. Oh, it's like Disney fucking whatever. They're, you know who I'm talking about, right? But what's weird about that mentality is it's still nostalgia worship. You're still framing your displeasure at these new movies in terms of they're not doing what the old movies did. You're still going, oh, you're just doing the same thing the old movies did. That's not what the old movies did. The old movies came up with an original, fantastical idea and brought it to light. You're just copying the old movies, and that's not gonna work on me because I like the old movies and I will not be fooled. Like that's the source of the I clapped because I saw it meant like derision. Like Red Letter Media, who has dramatically and swiftly fallen out of favor, in my opinion. Uh, like they kind of originated this meme of I clapped because I saw it, which is when things that are made nowadays, because we are like we live in a century of nostalgia worship where Hollywood's cranking out products that depend on people's nostalgia, that are going like, hey, remember this, kids, and give us your money because this is a thing you remember. Hey, remember Speed Racer? Give us your money. Hey, remember Jump Street 20, which is before my time, so I don't remember the fucking movie's name. Give us your money. Remember Power Rangers? Give us your money. And for one thing, that's kind of not working anymore, by the way. Power Rangers fucking bombed, which was a really uplifting story for me to hear, because I fucking hated that movie. But, like, the fucked up thing about that meme that pisses me off is you're not, like, going, fuck you for trying to pull that shit on me, Hollywood. The I clapped because I saw it meme is making fun of the public. The I clapped because I saw it meme is making fun of the people who go, hey, yeah, I do remember Speed Racer. Here's my money. Hey, yeah, I do remember 21 Jump Street. Here's my money. And what's your, like, what did they do to you? The kind of people who go and see this movie because they go, hey, I remember Chewbacca. I remember the Luke and his lightsaber. I remember that. Here's my money. Like, why do you gotta be dicks to them? Be dicks to fucking Disney for like, exploiting that nostalgia to rank in the bank. The I clapped because I saw it meme is not going, fuck you, big corporations trying to wring money out of people. It's going, fuck you, stupid, muling masses for buying into it. And that's not that's fucked up. That's mean. Don't do that. Don't be mean to the public. Like, they're not obligated to any kind of fucking cause. Like, just because you watch, 20 fucking movies a week doesn't mean that you have the right to decide whether or not the people should go and see whatever movie and fall for whatever marketing tactic. It's their money, they can spend it how they want. If the marketing tactic works on them, then they can spend that money. Why are you being dicks to them? And that's like, if you want to attack the big corporations, if you want to attack Hollywood, if you want to attack Disney, I would get behind that, because fuck them. They're evil. Like, you don't become a big successful corporation without being evil. But if you're gonna be dicks to the victims, fuck you. You're an asshole. Yes, they're going, I clapped because I saw it. And if you're so much of a cynical jackass fuck that you're mocking them and making fun of them and insulting them for clapping because they saw a thing, you're just as evil as the big corporation. You're just a pathetic, moneyless, weak, like voiceless kind of evil, which is ineffective but way more like pitiful, frankly. Anyway, kind of got pulled into a whole tangential topic there, but like the reason the people who are like giving derision to these new movies is because they're going, oh, they're just exploiting our nostalgia. They're going, hey, remember this, kids? Give us your money. Fuck you. You're like the source of that derision is still nostalgic affection and affinity for the original movies. You're not better. It's just a different flavor. It's the other side of the coin. You going, fuck you, those original movies were great and I'm not going to fall for your bullshit, is just the other side of the coin of people going, hey, I love those original movies, this movie is doing that too, I'm going to go watch it and love it because it did the thing that I remember and love. Like, it's still both coming from a source of, hey, remember that old movie I really love? Just positively or negatively. You're looking at this new movie going, I love those original movies, so fuck this movie. They're looking at this movie going, I love those original movies, so I love this movie. You're not better. You're not better than them, especially since you're still spending money on the fucking ticket. So I don't know where you fucking get off going The Force Awakens is a bad movie because it's just doing New Hope again. You still love New Hope and you still gave money to fucking Force Awakens. So go fuck yourself. Which leads me to another frame of mind which is interesting, which is it's interesting that everyone is framing these new movies in terms of relation to the old movies. No one is going, okay, let's go see this movie and judge it on its own merits. Everyone is going, okay, how does this compare to Empire Strikes Back? How does this compare to Return of the Jedi? Like, what is it doing that's either the same or different from that old movie? Which I would say is unfair, but it's really not. Because you watch this movie, and that's what they're doing. Because if the movie is going, hey, compare us to the old movie, you're allowed to compare it to the old movie. If the movie itself is going, we're gonna do things the same or differently from the old movies, you're allowed to point out when it does things the same or differently from the old movies. It's doing it on purpose. It is exploiting your nostalgia. So like, the hypothetical scenario of let's look at this movie on its own merits as a movie divorced from the original Star Wars movies. No, you kind of can't do that. You kind of shouldn't do that. This movie exists as a new Star Wars movie. This movie is going, we are the 8th Star Wars movie. Those were the first 3 Star Wars movies. You watch those movies and then you watch this movie because, like, this movie isn't trying to be its own movie. It's not doing the fucking thing that they sometimes do where it's like, in a perfect world, our game would be judged on its own merits and not by the fact that we gave it a title that old games had, that people have a lot of respect and affinity for, and we're doing different things with it in a very disrespectful way. But no, just judge it on our own merits. No, this movie's going, yeah, we're a Star Wars movie. And if you think we live up to that title, then yay. If you think we don't, then condemn us for that. This movie fucking owns up to the fact that the title of this movie is Star Wars Episode 8. For better or for worse, they're not turning away from it. They're not trying to be like, judge us on our own merits. They're not trying to be like, oh, don't compare us to those old movies, we're making a new original thing. No, they're going, yeah, we're fucking, like, we're a new Star Wars movie. It's a franchise. Like it or not, like, it's a Star Wars movie. We can't, and that's kind of the smartest thing they can do with it. Because if they try and do that, then you can't depend on nostalgia. That's a weakness. If you're going, no, judge us on our own merits, yeah, well then why'd you do the fucking thing that the old one did? Uh, like, no, if you own up to it and go, yeah, we're a Star Wars movie, look at this shit! Look at this Star Wars shit right here! That's a strength. That's a good move on their part to approach it in that way. So the fact that this movie is like fucking Star Wars Episode 8, if you're I mean honestly what would you do, right? If you're tasked with the goal of make a new Star Wars game in this the year of our Lord 2017, what would you do? You would use the original movies as a blueprint. That's what you would do. And don't lie to me and tell me anything different. If you were given if fucking Mickey Mouse knocked on your door, threw 500 million sacks of money at your feet and said, write a new Star Wars movie, you'd pop the old DVDs in, watch them, and be like, okay, this was some good shit, right? And while you're writing, you go, okay, that was some good shit, I gotta do that. Or, oh, that was some good shit, they're gonna expect me to do that, so I'll do something different instead. That's what anyone on the planet fucking Earth would do, right? So don't try and act like you're better than this movie, okay? I think this movie fucking like flew over the bar for me. Here's my bar. Actually, it should be way lower. Hold on. Here's my bar. Here are the prequels. Here's this movie. It went over the bar. It met my expectations. This was a good Star Wars movie. This was a good movie, and it was a good Star Wars movie. It was a good movie, and it was a pretty good Star Wars movie, as a matter of fact. So yeah, that's my spoiler-free review. Those are my general thoughts on the movie in as non-specific a way as possible. In summary, too long did not read. Crystal Foxes, 10 out of 10, best movie of the year. Fucking Crystal Foxes! I want to buy those plushies! Okay. Okay, this part is for... Okay, I'm gonna get into spoilers. And honestly, a lot of it's probably not gonna make sense to you if you're not as deep into Star Wars as I am anyway, but I would still say, if you think like 20 years from now I might watch this movie if it's in Redbox, right? Just fucking this again. The core strength of this movie is subverting expectations. Those were the best moments to me. So if you're gonna watch the movie and you know what's gonna happen, then it loses that power. It loses the effectiveness. The effectiveness of, oh, I expected it to be this, but it was that instead. Kind of the fact that I told you that already kind of ruined the movie for you, right? I mean, it's not a big deal because you don't know the specifics, but that is something this movie did, where it's going, hey, no. Hey, no. Hey, actually. Like, so if you know what it's gonna do, it's not gonna work on you the way it worked on me. Because, like, again, those moments where I'm like, oh, it's good. Actually, I'm the kind of person where, like, I watch it and I know what it's gonna do. Like, I'm sure there's some people out there who, like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, but I watch the movie and I'm like, oh, it's gonna do this. But, like, that fact aside, it did work on me, where I was like, oh, it's gonna do, what? Hey, oh, it's gonna do the, oh, they might be setting up for, oh shit, what are they gonna do in the next movie then? Right? So, again, fucking, here's the brick wall of spoilers, okay? Spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1.